Hi everyone, this is Julie Bruns. Welcome to the Peace and Possibilities podcast. I want you to thrive and be happy, peaceful, and content, no matter where you are on your journey. This podcast shares stories that will show you how it can be done, no matter what your circumstances. You'll be inspired and come away with a new spark of an idea. Never forget, anything is possible. New episodes are released every Wednesday. Subscribe, rate us, and leave us a review. This helps others find our content and get happier sooner. To possibility and beyond. Welcome, everyone. My guest this week is Everett O'Keefe. And Everett and I met on, October 9th, I remember, was the day that I decided I'm going to do this. So was it October, November, December, January, February? So 4 or 5 months ago. 4 months ago. And I think we met like end of September, early October of 2020. And I met Everett because I was referred by Dr. Wayne Purnell. A little shout out to Wayne. He was also on my podcast several months ago. And he was coaching me. And I said, I have a book. I wrote it. I need to get it out there. What do I do? I'm overwhelmed, but it's written. And he's like, you need to talk to Everett and Ignite Press. And he's a great, first of all, I think he said you were a great guy. And he's like, but you have to talk to him and he'll be able to help you. And if he can't help you, he'll be able to guide you to someone else that can help you. So I was like, all right, well, I'll just meet him and I'll see what happens. And now here we are in 2021 in February, and my book right over here, this beautiful book, it was released at the beginning of February 2021 and made bestseller in 24 hours, which was awesome. And
fantastic.
Yeah, it was awesome. So I'm so glad I reached out, and I'm so glad we met, and it's just amazing to see. I mean, it's not a miracle because I did the work, but it's still like you see it and you go, oh yeah, that's what happens when you put your mind to something and you meet the right people and you figure out how to make it happen. Like everything is figure outable and anything's possible, which is why that's the title of my book. Because
I was going to say, and I like that phrase, everything is figure outable. I want to, if you don't trademark that.
No, Marie Forleo did. Marie Forleo.
It's already,
called Everything is Figure Outable. And she released it 2019, actually, end of 2019. She's phenomenal. Yes, and it's true because really you can figure out almost anything.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That absolutely. That was the kind of how one of my businesses got started. Everything can be figured out. There's always a solution.
Yeah. So that's what I want to talk about. So all I know, I know a lot about you, but I don't know everything, but I know a lot. The main thing I know is that you started out in one career and saw that it wasn't going the way you wanted it to go and decided that you wanted to start another career, and then you wrote a book. So talk about what you do now. And like, I'm really curious to know, like when you graduated college, you're like, I think I want to do this one day, or were you like totally a left field, another place? I'd like to know.
Yeah. All right. So I'm the founder of Ignite Press, and we're a hybrid publishing company. And that really means that we kind of sit squarely between self-publishing and traditional publishing. And we like to think that we incorporate all the best things from self-publishing and all the best things from traditional publishing and avoid the worst things from both. And that's what we do. And as you know, that's what we've just done with your book, is helping you publish a professional book that's representative of you and your brand and something you're proud of and something that's going to be effective for your business going forward. And you just absolutely killed it in regards to the Amazon launch, and your tribe came together and really helped support that. So congratulations to you on becoming a #1 best-selling author with your book. I mean, it's fantastic.
Thank you.
So that's what I do.
You're a publisher, but you weren't always. What did you graduate college? I'm like, I'm going to open a firm one day that does this.
Yeah, no, not, of course, just like so many people. I actually went to college first to be, I thought, an English teacher in high school. Then I really enjoyed college. So I decided, well, I'm going to get my master's degree and I'm going to teach at the college level because that just seems kind of cool. So I did all my master's classes and all of that, but kind of in the meantime got sucked into the business world. I got hired by a medical facility to be an editor because I had these, grammar and punctuation skills and all that fun stuff. And they needed an editor for some of the things they were doing. And that kind of led me, quite honestly, out of college, out of English, and in a whole nother path. I got actually hired to do marketing for a medical group because I had been doing this work within this particular sphere of medical practices. I got hired to do marketing for a few years and then got hired out of that and trained to be a vocational rehab counselor, where I was working with injured workers to help them get back to work. So you look at my education and you look at where I landed, it's like, what does that have to do with that? And I will tell you about the only thing one had to do with the other is being a good reader and a good writer and a good communicator. I think that those were the things that really connected those dots. So I ended up working in that sphere for 2+ decades. And at the same time, marketing myself, marketing my practice to make it successful. And when I went self-employed in that, really kind of took over my space. I mean, took the market share that we developed quite rapidly was significant. And those were lessons that I would use later for other clients in marketing and publishing. So yeah, it's kind of a weird thing that I went from there into vocational rehab. And then from there, the big change was that the industry was changing, and it was just some political things that had happened within the state of California, and they changed the benefit structures of how they were going to provide it and all of that. And I saw the writing was on the wall that it was going to be basically sunsetting. And it was around that time that I realized that the things I had done to market my business were things I could do to market other people's businesses. And that started the career really in marketing and publishing.
Crazy. I love the lesson in that, simply because people will say, well, I don't have this skill, so I can't do that. Or like, people will just think this is the job I have, and they're not thinking of the transferable skills and what's they're really good at, and how that can apply to all these other areas. We were talking to our sons all the time when they were choosing colleges, and one should start a college. I'm like, you love sports. It doesn't mean you can only be an athlete. It doesn't mean you can only be a teacher or a coach. You could do lots of different things. You could do stuff on the side. You could have 2 jobs. You could have hobbies. You can have all of this, but the sky's the limit now. It was a lot different. Well, it was similar when I was growing up, but now it's really like you can plug that stuff into a lot of different places. And that's the wonderful thing about being where we are in our world right now with technology where it is. And
I think it's a great point. When you and I were going to college, it was still expected then that you were going to go to college, and that college was going to create the track for you.
Right.
And so you're going to follow that career track. However, at the same time, we also recognize that there were a lot of people who were doing stuff way outside of where their education was. Now, I think there is so much mobility because of technology, the destruction of geographic limitations, all of that. I mean, really, when you talk about possibilities in your book, this is a time of possibilities beyond any other. Mm-hmm. And the disruptions caused by COVID really, I think, have kind of broken down a lot of walls that allow people to be successful in new fields, in new locations, using new technologies.
Yeah, it made people look at, I can't do it this way, especially corporations. We can't do this anymore. We can't travel. We can't go to these big events. We can't host this or that. What can we do instead? And everyone, I remember when I was in corporate America when all this started, a year ago, and it was like, what are we going to do? And it's like, people, we have awesome technology that people have been using to communicate how we need to communicate for years. And now we just have to really take a hold of it and embrace it. And everyone has now, of course, and we figured out how to do it this way. And this way is not going away now. So now it's like, you have this, you have the old way you can do things. We have a new hybrid way we're going to be able to do things going forward. And now there's so much more that people didn't think was possible. Like I remember one of the companies I worked for in the last 5 years, they were all about like, there will be no working from home. Unless you have a doctor's visit, you can't get out of, or you have someone come to your house to fix your washing machine. Other than that, you're going to be at the office. and of course they've had to completely adapt their way of thinking, and it wasn't what they thought it was going to be. It's working out just fine. But people don't like change, and now it's like this is one lots of lessons for COVID, but the one big one I would say probably one of the top three is you just have to keep adapting and not be afraid of change, because things are always going to continue to change. Get comfortable with it.
Yeah, perfect. Just a perfect example. You're right. Yeah, we would never let people work from home. Oh wait, everyone's going to work from home.
Mm-hmm.
And the curious part will be how elastic, like how much will things snap back? And I don't know that they'll ever snap back exactly the same. I see a lot of companies downsizing spaces,
Yeah.
changing their leases, things like that, because here we can do so much remotely.
Mm-hmm.
The irony of it is, you know, I don't know when Zoom was invented, but I'm pretty sure I was using it within the first year of it. And I'm thinking it's at least 5, if not 10 years ago, because we were doing video stuff on Skype, then it became Zoom, then it became Blue Jeans, then it became back to Zoom. And then the rest of the world found Zoom because we had to. And it's the beauty. I mean, disruption causes some amazing changes, some good, some bad.
Yeah. Maybe you could even write a book in all of this time in COVID.
Yeah.
The people that just said, I don't have time to do it. It's like, you have the time now. You just got 2 hours back from your commute, and you can't go out and go to dinner, and you can't do all these other things. So everyone got more time. So the excuse of, I'm not going to have time to do it. So maybe you have kids at home. That's my husband and I joke about that. Like, if our kids were younger, and I have a teaching degree, I have a master's in teaching. Like, I don't think I could teach the kids at home, and I'm qualified to do it. I can't imagine the people that aren't qualified and are like,
Oh, rough.
just
Very
pulling
rough.
their hair out.
Yes.
But you have more time with your kids now, and you have more time, that beginning and the end of the day, and you're teaching them things, you're learning together. Like, there's all these positive things that come from it. And then, so it's going to be better. It already is better for lots of things. So.
Yep.
Okay. So next question. While you were figuring out what you wanted, so your career path's going like this, and while things are changing for you and you're figuring out, I can use this skill to do this, I can do this for my own company kind of thing. As you were figuring it out along the way, and you saw the writing on the wall in that one job too, what were you doing to stay peaceful and content and happy along the way, even though everything wasn't exactly where you wanted it as you were?
Now that's it. And that's pretty interesting, because there was a time where I was a wreck. I mean, you can imagine in the midst of these transitions, there were some times where cash flow was a significant issue. In fact, there was a time I was waking up at like 2:30 in the morning every morning, just freaked out about our finances. And sometimes I just found myself face first on the floor praying, like, what are we going to do? How is this going to work out? All of that. And so at the same time, I'll tell you though, that the same things that got me where I was as far as the success of my early businesses was the same thing to keep me grounded and make successful my later ones. And that's just it's relationships, the development and maintenance of relationships. I think when I stepped into vocational rehab, that was the thing that allowed me to come into a field where everyone else had been there for a couple decades, and then to suddenly, as a 26-year-old, really take over that market share. It was developing relationships, and it was the relationships that kept me steady going through those hard times. And honestly, it's the thing that made everything else successful later, because as an offspring of relationships, I finally, way too late, discovered masterminds and the value of masterminding with other people. And that relationship whole bubble there thing, I mean, that's been the secret to so much success.
Oh, that's cool. I love that you talk about relationships. It's why it's one of the chapters in my book called Connections, because I couldn't agree more. Like, you're constantly building them, even when you don't think you're building them, and even when you're not strategically saying, I have to connect with this person. It's just being authentic and true and real and giving and helping people, and it's going to come back to you. The nice thing about relationships is they may ebb and flow, and sometimes you see and hear and talk to people more often. Sometimes you don't talk to them for several months. But when you're building true, authentic corner four connections, is what I talk about in my book. There's no, like, the sky's the limit. and you can always come back to them. They don't ever go away. And then once you get good at building some of those in the beginning and as a foundation, it's just natural for you to continue to do it throughout your career. And like you said, they don't go away, and they're the foundation for everything else good that happens to you.
You couldn't have said it better. That's exactly right.
Yeah, it's cool. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that. What else about, what would you say to, I know you have kids, I don't know how old they are. What do you say to your kids, or what have you said to them? And then what would you say to someone who's maybe in mid-career and like knows that they're in the wrong job, or they graduated college and maybe they didn't do the right thing in college and they wanted to study something else or get a job? What would you say to them? They're searching for a meaningful career and they want to use their strengths. What do you say?
So I think this is a tough spot. By the way, my kids are now 18, 22, and 24.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I got it right. Now my youngest turns 19 in a couple of weeks, so that's why I'm confused. So it's an interesting thing because there's two different ways to look at this. One is that a meaningful career has to be, utilizing this particular talent or this particular bend, and that I'll only be happy if I can find and do that. Okay. And therefore, I'm not going to work as an accountant. I'm going to pursue my art degree, and I'm going to do whatever. So there's that. But I'll be honest, my bend is more along, and I know there's conflict in these two areas. My bend is more that we can find fulfillment wherever we are, depending on how we look at things. And that really it's a matter of contentment. And I don't necessarily mean contentment like, I'll never ever amount to more than I am now, so I should just be content with that. I don't mean that at all.
Me neither.
I mean, yeah. So just that it's just having some peace and contentment in knowing that first, who you are is different from what you are, if that makes any sense. That what you do in business does not have to define who you are as a person. I think of our janitor, for lack of a better word, at church is the most kind and loving and perhaps fulfilled person I've ever met, and could do so many things, but he loves serving people, and this is one way he serves people. So that's something to look at, because I know that there's some push for us to pursue our dreams at all costs and stuff like that. And sometimes pursuing our dreams at all costs is way, way, way too costly. On the other hand, I am an entrepreneur, and I love finding opportunities. I love being distracted by the what ifs. And I learned a lesson from somebody I met at a conference some years ago who said, entrepreneurs have to have a certain level of ADD, because they have to be distractible enough to spot opportunities and squirrel on some things, right? Just randomly go after stuff.
Yep.
And then yet also be focused enough to make something out of those, so that they aren't just constantly squirreled on everything. Yeah. So to get to the long answer to the question, with my kids, it's a matter of, be creative, allow yourself to be distracted, allow yourself to explore different things. Don't feel any pressure from me as dad, right? Just because I'm an entrepreneur doesn't mean you have to be, for instance. And then, find contentment in wherever you are, because of the relationships that you develop. I think that as a Christian myself, that is a part of that as well. And so it's all of those things. So that was a really long, convoluted answer. And
no, it's good. It's good. It's important this is why I wrote the book, because I want people to understand that no matter where you are in your life, you can still be peaceful, happy, content, fulfilled, satisfied, serene, even if you don't have everything you think you want. And when you get there to that everything you think you want anyways, and you weren't practicing any of those things along the way, you're not going to feel it, because the whole point is to live it and feel it every day, no matter no matter where you are, so it's about being fulfilled, and it's your perspective on all of your circumstances around you. You can always find something to be grateful for. You can always be more mindful and be more present. You can always come up with new ideas and be creative. Like all of those things don't go away because you don't have the job you want, or you don't have the degree you want yet, or you haven't reached a certain role in your company or whatever it is. And the more you concentrate on, I was having a conversation with her name is Christy on my podcast like a month ago, and it's like the more the successful people that you talk to that have what they want and got there, of course they got there with hard work, but most of them that I've talked to got there because they were trying to figure out what was working and going well in the present so that they can have more of that before they got to where they wanted to be. And if they were constantly thinking about everything that's going wrong and how nothing's working for them, that's the law of energy in the universe. You just start attracting more of that. So like when you get up and you're having a crappy day, and other things.
More of that.
Yeah, like, oh, this, and then my car, and then I got a flat tire. And can you believe this? And I went to the store and I lost my debit card, whatever it is. Like that's what happens because you start focusing on all those things. I've been teaching my kids this for years. But if you wake up and say 3 things you're grateful for, which is why I have a chapter about that in my book, that's the first thing you think about is 3 things that are going really well for you. Of course, you're going to get out of bed with a better attitude and you're going to be more fulfilled in that moment, even if you're looking for your perfect job and it hasn't come to you yet.
And I think that's wise advice, starting your day by considering what things to be grateful for rather than, it's cold outside, I don't want to get out of bed, all of those things. I mean, we all feel that way, but focusing on the things you're grateful for is always good. And coming back to that, come back to that in times of stress. Yes. That was the thing, is when I found myself face first on the floor, worried about our finances, I would have to come back to the fact that I have a wonderful wife. I have wonderful kids. I am blessed that they are healthy. We have a roof over our heads, and that, and as much as I was stressed about our finances, that wasn't likely to go away. And all of those things. So that gratitude will get you through so much.
And I love that it's free and you don't need anything to practice it. So it's not like, some people like to write it down. Writing down is great. But when I started that practice, it's like 3.5, 4 years ago now, I knew in my head, if I didn't have paper, or if I wasn't, I didn't have my phone nearby, I wanted to be able to do it and not have the excuse. Well, I'll do it later. Then it's not a practice. Now you're just randomly doing it. It's not a conscious effort. So I just do it in my head. Writing down, it has a lot of power too, but I just do it in my head. So there's never going to be an excuse. And I don't know if my boys are doing it or not, but it's a great practice. And it's one of the things that's getting me and got me through a lot of stuff. So
love it.
Easy. Yeah. Okay. So I have another question for you. So this is the second to last one. Is there anything you wished? So don't think about regret as much as it would have been cool if you learned something a little bit earlier in your career and your life.
Sure. It's easy, but it's 2 things. Okay. So one I already alluded to, masterminds. Had I known about mastermind groups early in my career, I would have built a business 2 or 3 times the size of what I did. And would have done it.
For people that have never, I've heard of them, but not everyone has.
Yeah. So a mastermind group can come in a lot of different forms, but just think of it as gathering a group of other people and who are, it's most often done gathering people who are in your same industry or in related industries. Gather those people together, and it can be a one-time event where you just come together for a day or a few hours, and you start sharing what has worked for your business and what struggles have you had for your business. Okay. Laying out those struggles. It can also be a more organized thing. Like I run a mastermind group for publishers, and we come together every 2 weeks, and we're always sharing what are our best practices, what exciting things are you bumping into, where are you having issues. And it's like an insurance policy and a growth policy all wrapped up in one thing for your business. Because if you bring up a problem, odds are someone else in the group has already gone through that problem and has a solution for you. And you may save months and years, and you may save many thousands of dollars simply because that one person happens to be in that group and has the answer for you at that one moment in time. Mm-hmm. And at other times, you're going to be that person where you're going to provide that solution. So we have run mastermind groups now for coming on 8 years. And sometimes we do retreats in awesome locations and things like that. But I wish I had known about mastermind groups earlier. I came to them pretty late, and I was like, "What is this? Oh, this is amazing!"
Yeah.
And they can be free, they can be paid, they can be very expensive, they can be virtual, they can take all sorts of shapes, but they are a gold mine for any business. I don't care if you're a garbage man.
Inspired me to start one. I think I'm going to reach out. I already have some people in mind, and just do one for 1 hour. Like you said, it doesn't have to be a big thing. Just
Nope.
get together and
And just start it. Like, don't worry about what it's going to grow to be.
Yeah.
Just invite, just say, hey, and I'll tell you that there are some synergy in numbers. We find it somewhere between about 8 and 20 people is a good number. So just know that.
Okay.
But oh my gosh, just start it and see where it goes. It'll be a fun ride. And you just say, hey, can we get together and just share like best practices and challenges so we can sharpen each other? It's
I love it.
like, like the Bible saying, as iron sharpens iron, and this is the same thing.
Great idea. What was your other thing? So a lesson.
Yeah. So the other one was write a book. I mean, honestly, and I know that sounds self-serving because I'm a publisher. Okay. Totally get that. But my first book we wrote not to start. The first book I ever wrote was called The Video Tractor Beam, and it was about video marketing. And we wrote it and launched it, published and launched it in 30 days. And we did that really as a proof of concept because we're like, is this really possible? Can we make it an Amazon #1 bestseller? And can we do all these things? And it blew my mind when first I saw the book on Amazon. Second, I saw the book topping artists or authors that I've come to admire, like Andy Andrews and John Maxwell and all sorts of people, and sitting there going, okay, this is crazy. Well, we did it as a proof of concept just for the publishing process. But the end result was that suddenly we got a lot more video marketing business. What a surprise, right?
Yeah.
But we got a bunch of more video marketing business, and those clients were higher paying clients, and they were better clients. And it was because the book had positioned us as an expert in our field. And the irony of it is while it was doing that, we were like, hey, this book stuff's pretty good. Like, this really works. Like, we should do this for other people. And so out of that came Ignite Press. And it was the whole idea of let us help ignite a flame in your business and watch it take off, right? Watch it.
I love that concept. Tell everyone the name of the book. Is it The Power of the Published?
Oh, so yeah. So more recently, we published The Power of the Published. And this is published after having, at this time, I think we had published about 60 Amazon #1 bestsellers for our clients. And so this contains some of the experience that we have from that, as well as stories about how crazy it is the way books can impact a business. From speakers getting more speaking opportunities and being able to increase their fees, to using a book to attract the right clients and repel the wrong ones. And even using a book to train your clients to be better clients so that your process works more smoothly, closing clients faster. Just the other day, I remember one of our authors had responded to me that she had got a new consulting opportunity from a very high paying client who had got a copy of her book and basically called her up and said, yep, I've got it. I've read your book. Let's do this thing. And she said it just compressed the sales cycle into, almost nothing because of the expertise shown in her book.
I want to give you a glowing review about that book because I didn't know about it when I talked to you and I agreed to work with you. I didn't know you wrote a book. Maybe I did. I don't think I did. And then you sent me the book and you just said, I don't even think I had agreed to work with you yet. We had just had our first consultation call and you said, Julie, just want to send you this book. And you wrote a nice little note in it for me and encouraging me to go forth and write my book, even if it's not with you or publish it. which was really sweet. But I read the entire book because I'm one of the 10% who reads word for word, every single word of the book. And I think I told you this a month ago, and I said to my husband, I said, if I'd never met him and read this book, I would have called him the second I was done with it and said, how can I work with you, or can you help me? I said, because all of the things you talk about it, and it's a really easy read. It really is so impactful about your, like, try this and this is what will happen, or think about it this way, like the all of the benefits that come with writing a book, how you're the authority, how people will look at you differently, how it's something never anyone can ever take away from you. I mean, there's so many good things that come from it, and there are so many things I never thought about. Like some of them were kind of like, oh yeah, I thought about that, but I would probably say 75% of the things you mentioned in that book, I never thought, oh yeah, I could do that. A book could do that. So it's an easy read, and it's very impactful. Like just the stuff in there is like stuff I'd never thought about before. And I've been a reader for a long time. So
Well, I think from a marketing standpoint, remember that we came at this as a marketing tool. And that's how most of our clients engage with us. They understand this is a marketing tool. It's not something they're going to sell a ton of copies of and make a bunch of royalties. They're going to use it primarily within their brand.
Yeah.
You cannot conceive of a more effective and more durable marketing tool. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So, and I want to think back, books have been used to persuade people from time immemorial, right?
Yeah.
The wisdom that's included in the Bible, right? For instance, is perfect example of this. Books are so incredibly durable. You can create it now, right? And you'll leverage this for the rest of your life. Like you said, not only is it something no one can take away from you, but when you put a book in someone's hand, people don't want to throw away books, right? Look at our bookshelves.
Yeah.
And as you know, there's this whole chapter in my book about the power of the unread book, because even those unread books are constantly whispering to the person who owns it, Julie's an expert.
Yeah.
Julie's an expert. I
Yeah.
should talk to Julie. Julie knows her stuff. She's the one. It's just constantly whispering that.
Mm-hmm.
So that is one of the things I wish I had come to much earlier in life, but I'm sure glad I came to it now, because I think we've just topped 100 books so far that we've published, and we're loving doing it. We're just loving helping our authors get their messages out and carrying it to the world.
Yeah, it's such a gratifying thing. It's on so many levels. I think I'm going to write about what it means now to me. It's special. It's been awesome working with you and your team, and I can't speak highly enough about you guys. But the whole process has just been a pleasure. Like it wasn't, it was hard work, but so's everything.
Right.
Anything we're doing well is going to be hard work. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, okay. And you did a great job, and you made it easy for us to work with you too. So
thank you.
That helps as well. You're a great client.
Thank you. Okay, so one final question. What is the greatest gift that you bring every day? So to the world, to your clients, like Everett O'Keefe is what? Like, what's the greatest thing you can offer?
Wow. That's tough. I hope that that support and reliability would come to it. I hope that's what comes. We don't, for instance, I do not foresee myself as somebody who wants to, I don't mind standing on a stage, but that's not my calling. There are other people who are given messages that they need to carry to the world. And I don't feel like I'm so much given a message to carry to the world, so much as I can stand behind and support and lift up those people to help them carry the message to the world. And there's an example in the Old Testament, and the Israelites are fighting, and Moses is holding the staff of God up, and as long as he's holding it, the Israelites are winning. But his arms get tired as the day goes on, and the staff starts to droop, and the Israelites start to lose. And then two people come beside him, Aaron and Hur. They come beside him and they hold his arms up, and he's able to hold the staff of God up, and the Israelites triumph. I see myself not as Moses holding the staff. I see myself as Aaron and Hur holding up Moses's arms. And that's the analogy that I see for us in our business at Ignite Press. And hopefully that comes out in other aspects of my life as well.
It's a great analogy because it really is like you said the people that are writing the books have really have something to say. That's one of the first things you said to me, Julie. If you think you have something to say, you have something to say, you should say it. It's important. People need to hear it. And you didn't even really know what that was yet. But it's a great image because it's like, it's coming through you, it's coming out into the world, and you're saying, all right, well, I'll guide you. I'm over here to support you. I'm over here to make sure it happens for you because you know what you want to say, you know what your message is, but you don't necessarily know how to get it out there. So we, Ignite Press, my team, can support you in getting it out there. And that's how I felt. It was just like, all right, we're gonna do this. You have to do the hard work, which is getting everything down, get the message down, and then we'll help you do everything else. It's like, so you feel like you're just kind of being, like you're in this boat that's being guided with sails the whole time. Like, all right.
That's a great analogy too. I like that. I like that.
My dad used to say that all the time. You can't adjust the wind, but you can adjust the sails.
Well, and we were, Julie, you came to us also with your manuscript. You had crafted your manuscript and brought it to a level where we could then take it on. We also work with clients who come and they're like, gosh, I know I need a book for my business, but I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. We do that too. And I reference it in The Power of the Published. The subtitle for this book is how rapidly authoring a book can ignite your business and your life. They're key on rapidly. There are methods to do it where the manuscript can be written quite quickly without a ton of pain. And so we help authors with that too. And for others, we also direct them appropriately if they would benefit from a book coach. And there are a number of people that I think that's a fantastic solution for.
Yeah, I'm glad you offer those. And you're right. It's not there are people that want to write it for the right reasons. There are people that want to write it for the wrong reasons, but they don't necessarily know how to do it. And it's nice to be able to be guided. And I tell people that now. One of the biggest questions I get is, how long did it take you? And I'll say a year, but I'm like, it's not really a year. I did it every day in June for 2 months. I did it every day in September and October. I did it every day. I know the days I did it, and it was 2 hours a day. I wasn't, and I did it on the weekends when I had my full-time job. So I'm going to break it down and figure out the hours because not that it's easy. I'm not like taking away from what I did. It's just, if you just sit down to do it and you can focus, it's really not that hard. Like you're already talking, you're already, depending on what your business is, you probably talked for hours about it. It's like every hour, that's a chapter. Yeah.
And the other part is you've actually been writing this book for years, because for years you've been gathering information. You may not have written it down in a journal or something like that, but it's been going around up here and stuff like that. It's developing your experience. So the actual writing of it doesn't necessarily equal that, right? And we tell people all the time, it's like, look, you do not need to go lock yourself away in a cabin on Walden Pond. No. For 6 months to write a book. Every time when I wrote The Power of the Published, I sat down for about an hour and a half at most settings. Usually I did it in the evening, and I'd find out I'd get through 1,000 words or thereabouts. Well, you know what? Do that 25 to 40 times and you've got 25 to 40,000 words. Now you've got something there where an editor can step in and help.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be a new message for me, because I've had people tell me, I want to write a book. I'm writing a book. I've always wanted to write a book. I'm like, do it.
Yeah, especially now with COVID. I mean, that's the thing. We have seen a lot of people finally sit down and take the time to do it, because like you said, you just got your traveling time back. You're not out of town as much. You're not on the road going to and from the office as much. You can't go out as much. All right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for talking to me. It was fun talking to you. So tell people about and I'll put it in the notes. You're doing, what are you doing at the end of March?
Yes. So we have a special event coming up, and that is an author summit that's really designed for those people who are already authors. Actually, first, let me say 2 things. If you're not an author and you want to talk about publishing, or you are an author and you want to talk about relaunching or appropriately launching or redoing some things in your book, reach out to us. And you can do that at my website, which is ignitepress.us, ignitepress.us. And right there, you can schedule a consultation and go directly to my calendar. We can have a talk, see where that goes. And there are a lot of people I just give information and advice to and send them on their way if we're not the best fit for them,
Right.
but then they're at least equipped. So there's that. The other thing is that Kathy Fyock, who is a phenomenal book coach, she and I are putting together an author summit. And it's a virtual summit at the end of March. We brought together some fantastic guest speakers. One is a New York Times literary agent. She's had 25 plus New York Times bestsellers as her clients as a literary agent. We're bringing together an audiobook expert from Germany who's done a ton of audiobooks. And then we're also bringing some other speakers, one on video marketing, live casting, and that type of thing. So I'm going to try to set it up to make it easy for those people who are just listening. That one we're going to set up at authormind.net. So think mastermind, but authormind.net. And I'll try to link that in to the registration page for the summit. I think it's like if right now we're in an early bird until like March 1st. It's $97. After March 1st, it's $297. So probably want to register as soon as you can. But yeah, we'll set that up. And then of course, at any time you can reach out to me through the Ignite Press website for information on any of those things.
Awesome. I will say, if you're thinking about writing a book, do it, and talk to Everett about doing it, because you're gonna be pleasantly surprised at how nice and not easy the process is, but it's like, I gotta think about the right word for it, but it was a pleasant process, and it was fun, and yeah, I'm happy I did it.
Nothing great. Well, rarely do great things come with no effort.
Right.
It does require some effort, but it's not a mountain to climb. It's a steady hill. How about that?
I like that. Right, well, thank you, and I'll tell everyone. I'll put that in the show notes, and then when it's released next week, everyone can sign up.
Terrific. Thanks so much, Julia, and congratulations on your book.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. If you love this content, please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or whichever platform you found us on. You can get all my social media links in the description below. Help us keep the momentum going so that every person can live their lives happily, doing work they love.